Hi, Les from Retired and Living the Dream. This video is about lawyers. Lawyers. I hate lawyers. They are sometimes essential and you can't do without them to safeguard one or two things, but in reality, in my mind, and I'm going to give you a couple of stories about lawyers. Lawyers are criminals with certificates, and I'm going to give you a couple of stories as to why I call them crooks, legalised crooks, and that's what they are. Okay, the first story I'm going to tell you, I was going through a divorce, and what happened was that this was my second divorce. So I sort of knew how the system worked because I went through a divorce before, and it's not difficult. And in reality, I thought I don't particularly need a solicitor unless something goes on that is beyond my recollection of what happened in the previous divorce. So anyway, I approached a solicitor, and I asked the solicitor whether she would act on my or give me information if I got to a subject or part of the divorce that I couldn't handle and I didn't particularly understand. And I told the solicitor that I'd gone through a divorce before, so I sort of knew the remit of how it went on. I gathered all the information, put it in chronological order, and I did everything that was asked of me. And I replied to the solicitors, all being courteous and polite. And she said, oh yeah, no problem. Why pay for my services when you can do it all yourself? She said, you know how the system works. So she said, at the end of the day, she said, if you get stuck, come and see me and I'll help you out and I'll charge you for that amount of time. I said, I'm absolutely amazed with that. Thanks very much. Thinking I'd found an honest solicitor. Oh, no, I was totally wrong. And you'll see why I was wrong about putting my trust in a lawyer a little bit later on. So anyway, system happened. I was going to, with my friends, I was going to go to Thailand for a holiday. And 3 days before my flight was due to go, I got a letter from this divorce solicitor saying I was summoned to go to court on this particular day, and I was out of the country and I was going to be in Thailand. So I phoned up my solicitor, and the solicitor said, oh yes. She said, well, I'll represent you at court and tell them that you can't be here because you're out of the country. And I said, well, how much does that cost? How much will that cost me for you to tell the courts I'm not here? She said, oh, £500. It'll cost you £500. I said, wow. I said, what, just to tell them I'm not going to be there? She said, yeah. Well, she said, what's the alternative? Because at the time, I was living in the dining room in the house because my wife had tried to get me out of the house, but she wanted me to pay the mortgage as well. And I said, you pay the mortgage and I'll leave the house. And she refused to do that, so is why she was taking me to court. So I was sleeping in the dining room on a mattress on the floor because I couldn't afford to pay the mortgage and my own accommodation if I moved out of the house. So she decided to take me to court to try and get me out of the house for one reason or another. So the solicitor said, well, the alternative is, she said, you go away on holiday, the court finds in your wife's favour, and she said, you'll end up and all your bin bags are on the street. And she said, you got nowhere to live because the courts have found in her favour because you didn't attend. I said, there must be another way. She said, no. She said, that's the alternative. She said, I'll either, represent you, or you'll come back and you'll have been thrown out of the house. So I'm thinking, £500 to do that. I said, okay, let me think about it. So I rang the courts up, explained the situation to one of the clerks at the court or wherever it was. And she says, oh, just come. She said, have you got proof that you're not here at that moment? I said, yes. I said, I got my flight tickets. Oh, well, she said, that's all you need to do. She said, just inform the courts. She said that you can't attend because you're on holiday or wherever, and that you have proof. And I said, so if I come down to the courts now and I show them all my certificate that I've got my tickets and I won't be here for 2 weeks, she said, and I said, it'll be stopped. She said, yeah, it'll be adjourned. I said, how much is that going to cost me? She said, £35. I said, I'll be down there in the hour. And I was at the courts within an hour with my flight tickets, my itinerary, my hotel that I was going to stay at. And she said, yeah, that's fine. She said, that's all we need. She said, we'll adjourn the court, we'll adjourn the hearing because you're not here. And she said, you'll be given a date after you return from holiday. And I said, nothing's going to happen. They won't say because you haven't. No, she said, because you've been here, you showed us all the information. And I said, okay, interesting. So I made an appointment to go and see the solicitor. So I went to the solicitor who'd offered to go to court for me and charge me £500 to represent me in court. And I sat in front of her and I said, she said, oh, okay. She said, when's your court date? She said, have you come in to book me? So I said, there's no other way around to this. She said, no, there isn't. There's no other way around. She said, if you don't represent, she said, yourself at the court, they'll find in your wife's favour. And she said, therefore, you'll be thrown out of the house. So I said, there's no other way of doing it. She says, no, there isn't. So I said, I couldn't contact the courts and tell them I can't be there because I'm away on holiday. Oh, yeah, well, she says, yeah, you can do that. I said, well, I did do that. I said, it cost me £35. It cost me £35, you're going to charge me £500. Well, she said, that's business, isn't it? She said, that's why you contacted me. She said, to represent you. I said, no, I contracted you to represent me, to help me out, not to defraud me out of £500 because you've told me there was no other way. So that's story number one. Lawyers, they will rip you up and tear you up because you don't know the law, and they do. And they will rip you up and milk you because you are the cash cow. So take note, lawyers are never ever your friends. And story number two, another lawyer. Funny enough, for the same divorce. After I binned the lawyer from the first lawyer that was going to charge me £500 for services that I didn't require. So towards the end of my divorce, my second divorce, because I had a number of businesses and a number of properties, her solicitor, he gave me what they actually wanted for settlement of the divorce. And I sort of got a little bit out of my depth with regard to this because what they were asking for, there's no way I could afford to pay that because I was just going to return just to be a firefighter. I had my own electrical business, children's entertainment business, properties, housing development. So I was earning a lot of money and they were wanting a lot of money for the divorce and things like that. And I just turned around and said, I'm not going to be doing anything like that. I am just going to be a firefighter. So this is the amount of money. So I cannot afford to pay what you're asking for. So anyway, I was talked into it by a friend at work to go and see this other solicitor. And my other friend said, she's very expensive, Les, but she's very, very good. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I've done all of the work for myself. This is 2 weeks before the final hearing. And so even the judge said to me, I suggest you get legal advice. If you don't have financial settlement, then I'll make a justice as to how much you have to pay and X, Y, Z. So he said, I suggest you get a solicitor to deal with this. So anyway, my friend recommended this solicitor who was very, very expensive. And I went down and I showed her the paper and I said, listen, I've done all the paperwork, it's all in chronological order, blah, 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 blah. And she looked at the information and she said, oh yes, she said, you're getting ripped off. She said, we can do a far, far better deal. Take note that we will start the ball rolling. And she said, you give us a small window of 2 weeks, but we'll get the work done for you and we'll represent you at court. I said, okay. But she said, we want a £2,000 payment up front before we do this. I said, like, ah. So I paid her the £2,000. And to cut a long story short and get to the nitty gritty of the court hearing day, she phoned me up on the way to court on this particular morning that we were going to court. And she said, oh, this is the proposal, Les. She said, so you can think about this on the way to court. And if you've got any questions, then you can ask me the questions once you get to court. So she said, we're going to ask for X, Y, and Z. And I asked her to repeat what she just told me. And she says, you know, this, and this. I said, that's more than what they're asking for. I said, you're actually going to give her, solicitor, more than what they're asking for. And she said quite snottily on the phone, well, she didn't expect to get away without paying nothing. And I said on the phone, I said, I didn't expect my solicitor, who's acting for me, to end up giving them more money than what they were asking for in the first place. So I said, I'll see you at court. So I'm absolutely in a rage and fuming. And so when I got to court, and I went into the room where my solicitor was, there was my solicitor, a trainee solicitor, a secretary for taking notes, and a barrister. Now the barrister was £700 a day, whether he worked for me for an hour or whether he worked for me for all day. It was £700 for the day. So I went in there fuming and I said, what am I paying for here? So why are you here? Why is she here? Why is he here? Why is he here? And she said, the trainee solicitor did most of the work. So I said, I was paying for you to do it, not your trainee solicitor. And I said, how come you're going to offer them more money than what they're asking for? She said, oh, well, okay, she said, we'll reassess that. I said, now's the wrong time to reassess it. I said, because you've been working on it for 2 weeks. And I said, the secretary, what's the secretary? Well, she has to take notes. Take notes of what? Anyway, so we had a massive argument. So the barrister said, listen, let's calm down. I'm going to go negotiate for you. I'm going to do the best I can. And he said, okay, he said, we'll sort of disregard what we've said we were going to offer them. He said, because now I've seen it in the paperwork. Yes, he said, we've got that wrong. So I'm like, fuming. So the barrister went off and come back. He said, well, what about this? I said, no. Went away, come back. And I said, no. I said, listen. I said, I'm paying for all of this lot. I said, with respect, sir, sit down. Let me go and have a word with her barrister. He said, that's not protocol. I said, I don't care about protocol. I said, it's my divorce. I want to go and see her barrister. So he went away, come back, and he said, yes, okay, you can go and see her barrister. So I said to the barrister, because I had it in my mind, I looked at the bigger picture. I looked at the bigger picture as to what I was going to do, what I wanted. And I was 8 years away from retiring, and I knew I was going to lose house because I had a couple of kids. So I looked at the best case scenario, and they wanted half the house, half the pension, and they wanted me to take the debts. So I went, in my mind, I said, if I give my wife the house, so she's got the whole house, I pay all the debts, but I keep my pension. How does that sound? Oh, he said, I think she'll be happy at that. I said, well, go and have a word with her, see if she's happy. And he came back and he said, yes, she's happy with that. She keeps the house, you take all the debts on, so she's debt free. He said, and we pay the maintenance to the kids, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. And he said, but I still need to confirm this with your barrister. I said, that's fine, I'll go and have a word with him. Went back, said to the barrister, said, it's all done and dusted, all sorted out. You need to go and cross the T's and dot the I's. He said, well, this is totally and utterly, he said, not the way it goes. I said, well, this is the way mine has gone today. So the barrister came back and he said to the solicitors and everybody else, it's all sorted, we've all done. So we went in front of the judge, over and done with, thanks very much, you know, and we went our separate ways. And I remember my wife saying to me, as we were walking out the courts, she said, I thought you had a good solicitor until I got everything. So I said, you may have won the battle, but you haven't won the war. I'm happy with the divorce settlement. I said, let's just move on from there. Let's not argue against each other. So off we went, so our merry little ways. And then I got a letter from the solicitor a week or so later with a detailed cost analysis of her services. So for her services to actually looked at all the case, she cocked it up in the first place and was going to offer them more money than we're asking. And now bearing in mind, I've already paid another £2,000. For 2 weeks' work, she was going to charge me £8,000 for 2 weeks' work. £8,000. And in amongst her calculations, there was a thing that always sticks in my mind, and thinking time. She charged me £650 thinking time. So I rang her up and I said, listen, I said, I can't afford to pay the £8,000. I said, I'll give you £200 a month. She says, no, we know how much you earn. I said, I've told you that I'm not earning this amount of money before. She said, we want £250 a week, not £200 a month. And I said, well, I can't afford to pay that type of thing. I said, anyway, I said, I'm querying this thinking time, £650. Yeah, she said, because sometimes I'm thinking about your case. So she said, I'm still working for you, thinking time. So I just laughed at that and I said, yeah, okay. So anyway, because of the situation, through divorce and things like that, I ended up actually going through bankruptcy. So my solicitor at the end of the day didn't get paid her £8,000 because I ended up going through bankruptcy. Such was how bad the divorce was. So that's another video, and I've done another video about my bankruptcy, so have a watch of that on the videos. So corrupt lawyers in for it for themselves. They don't give two hoots about you. You are just another number. You are just another ATM that pays their bills. So I hope you enjoyed these two videos, and thanks very much for watching. Leave your comments down below.